So, Mechabellum has just launched into 1.0, and I remember playing this game when it first launched into early access, but we are now talking 16 months later. So what we are going to do in this video is go through if I believe it's worth playing in its 1.0 version. And Mechabellum is a mech auto battler strategy game. Basically how it works is when you go into battle, you have turn-based combat. You basically have your deployment phase, then after your deployment you have your battle phase, and you are awarded currency and stuff to purchase upgrades and get new mechs and stuff at the end of each round. In this game there is a lot of practice stuff, there's loads of tutorials which will help you understand the ropes. And then one thing I like about this game is the fact that it's not just multiplayer, it's not just single player, you have both. When it comes to multiplayer, it's obviously online against other people, but the solo, you have practice where you can just go in against a random AI, you can basically try out all the different mechs that are available, try and build up a strategy. And then you have survival mode, which is what I personally play. Survival mode starts you off, like you have different difficulties. You start off with very easy, then you've got normal, hard, insane. And then you have different tiers of insane that go up to tier 4. And in this survival mode, you are against the AI. And starting off very easy, you're not going to have any durability for your mechs. And obviously the AI is going to be quite easy to defeat. And then as you progress in the difficulties, you can't play like the next difficulty unless you've beaten the previous one. So for an example, to play normal, you have to defeat the enemies, like you have to win a battle on very easy. And as you progress through the difficulties, not only are there more turns that you have to win, but the AI also gets a lot tougher, and this game really requires strategy. So basically you go into battle, turn 1, it's going to give you a default sort of set of mechs you can use for the first turn. You'll have like a couple of hundred credits if you want to buy some more like cheap units. And then what happens is, you go into battle, everything's automated, and say for an example you win the first round, what's going to happen is the enemy player will have points deducted off their health, depending on how many units you have left, and the type of units they are. For an example, there could be some little trash units you've sent out, and you've got 10 of those left, each one might hit the enemy player for 6 points each. Whereas when you get to some big, beefy sort of units, you might be knocking 350 health points off the enemy player with each unit you have left. And in order to win or lose the game, it's the player that runs out of health points. So after round 1, say you lost the battle, you've lost, I don't know, say 100 points off your health. You then go into round 2 and your troops are basically refunded to you. Like even if the entire squad was completely wiped out, they come back to you, and that's where the durability comes in. As you are progressing through the difficulties, your durability gets lower and lower. So on very easy, it's unlimited. Then you go up to normal, you've got like quite high durability. And then it gets lower and lower all the way up until you've got low durability on the insane difficulties. And what this durability does, say for an example you're playing on normal, which is what you're seeing in this footage, what happens is, say that squad is entirely wiped out. Say you've got fangs, which are like very low level troops. If that squad is entirely wiped out during that round, they are going to lose 1 point of their durability. So if there are 4 rounds played and that squad gets wiped out in all 4 of those rounds, you will lose that squad. And then at the end of turns, you are going to be given a choice out of some upgrades. You can do things like making your tech upgrades 50 points cheaper. You might get a rare one which improves the health, like your HP, your hit points or whatever, of all of your squads by 30%. You'll even get some where it gives you a random, like you get to pick out of like 4 options, but it might give you a random squad. And for an example, you might get something like Melting Point, which is this like big single target, high damage dealing unit. You might get one of those that comes in at rank 3 or rank 4. So the game gives you extra troops between rounds, and not only that, if you take for an example a melting point, that becomes available to buy as well. Because at the start of the game, you are very limited with what you can buy. You'll start with 2 troops, like 2 squad types, and then you can unlock more. Some are free, some are going to cost 50 credits. Some cost all the way up to like 200 credits for like a Titan War Factory. And basically what you do is you go through the rounds on normal difficulty. There are 9 rounds you have to complete. The enemies get harder and harder for each and every round, and it does get crazy because the enemy AI get experimental weaponry as well. So they might have something called an experimental wraith as an example, and this thing is an absolute beast. It's going to be way bigger and way more powerful than your standard wraith. So it's all about strategizing, and the enemies can come at you from all different angles except from behind you. So they can spawn in on the far left-hand side, they can spawn in on the far right-hand side, like literally behind where you're putting all your troops. And they can do that as well as spawning like right in front of you. And what happens when the battle starts is the troops just basically move towards each other. You have essentially 2 points that need to be destroyed, so does the enemy. And your troops are going to battle it out. Some of them might flank around and destroy the point, which is then going to stun the enemy troops, like if you've done it. And the points don't really matter too much. It's just as long as you have defeated every single troop of the enemy during that round. And then during your deployment phase, like once you've set down a squad and you've played a round with the squad in that position on the battlefield, you cannot move it anymore. But on top of being able to deploy new units, you can also upgrade your existing ones. You can promote them to a higher rank, which is also going to replenish all of its durability. And then on top of that, there are upgrades which you can change, like you can basically change it all around in the main menu. But there are upgrades, like for an example, there's something that will increase the unit's like health by 30%. And then when it's taken damage, it will heal itself by 4.5% of its health every single second. There's also things to increase the range by 40, you get increased damage by 50%. There's even a unit in the game called the Fortress, and when you upgrade that, there's an upgrade path for it that basically gives you a shield. So if you've got like 4 fortresses, you can create this massive shield bubble that's going to be very protective against damage. There's also shields that you can deploy without the use of a unit. There's also these little missiles you can send down, which are really cheap, they're 50 credits each. And you can do all of that during your deployment phase, and then like basically as soon as the round starts, the missiles go off, the shields deploy, so on and so forth. And then as I said about the main menu and having the different upgrades, what you can do is go to the main menu and you can change all of your units around. So say for an example, there's a unit that has an upgrade that's going to double the amount of bullets they fire, but it's going to increase their reload time by 12%. If you want to, as you level up through playing the game, you will unlock tech points, and then if you want to, and there is an upgrade that you want to change, you can use a tech point to unlock it, and then you can switch it out. So say for an example, that one about like firing double bullets, you could switch that out for something that's going to give you an extra 40 range. And then during battle, those upgrades will be available that you have actually equipped to all of your different units. So there is a lot to do, there is a lot of strategy. The amount of rounds goes up as well. On normal, you'll have 9 rounds, and then when you get up to insane tier 4, you will have 18 rounds that you need to survive. And as I said, the AI gets very, very tough to deal with, even on normal difficulty. But that's where the strategy comes in. You can't just jump into this game expecting to win every single match that you go into, even against the computer. And Mechabellum is a game that I have enjoyed ever since it first launched into early access. I think it's a great game. The performance can definitely take a hit when you have a lot going on the battlefield, but it's not that bad, and otherwise it does play very smooth. I've not come across any bugs or anything, and 1.0 has just made the game a lot better. So to answer that question, is it worth playing? For Mechabellum, I am going to say yes, this is definitely worth playing, especially if you're into auto battlers and mechs and things like that, and you like the idea of large-scale battles. And what we are going to do is leave that video there. Let me know your thoughts and stuff about this game in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.